Hello and good afternoon in the Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, we have an absolutely outstanding three-topic show, 90 minutes right before the holiday. And, maybe the conversation gets a little heated or so. We may, extend that a few, but listen, we're happy to have everybody here. We already have, wow, that is bonkers. 130 people already here, and we're just 2 minutes in. I can't thank you enough. And I see some new names here. I'm going to ask this, folks. We are 231 subscribers away from 13K. I don't know if we hit it today. Hell, I don't even know if we hit it this week. But if you're finding the channel for the first time, we do, in fact, do 5 live streams on Double Barrel Gaming, 5 different panels, Monday through Friday, all different times. And guess what? We don't sell hate or we don't hate monger to get your click or like. We simply just have fun and we talk about video games. And that's what we're going to do today. But we gotta welcome in Crazy Lou Gaming. What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty great, Mr. Boomstick. I mean, really happy with everything, how it's been going. Super excited, super happy, to sit here, talk about what's been happening. Man, it's been insane. That judge came with fire this Thursday. Jesus.
Yeah,
I wonder what's going to happen next. I really do. But let's get the show on the road, man. I'm super excited to be here. And thank you, like always, for having me on, brother.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you here. Great to have you here, part of the program. The judge really let it all hang out, so to speak, during closing arguments, where I think the FTC buried themselves even further. Obviously, the Cloud SLC was once again the big topic. I had some initial concerns for it. But then I listened to Everborn Saga on the Gaming Circle podcast this Saturday, where they had Gaz on with them, and he broke it down in such a way where I wasn't sure if this was hearsay or actually the lawyer for the FTC said it, but he actually said we don't know about cloud, and to me that to me is bonkers. Like, I don't know how you try to block a $69 billion deal with an I don't know. And again, we're going to break down some of the theories and thoughts from FOSS Patents. Obviously, Florian Muller, good friend of this particular program and good friend of this community, who has exploded on the scene in regards to Twitter. I remember he was at, hey, 10,000 people follow me. The dude's like at 31,000 people following him, and for good reason, folks, because he has been giving us lots of information about the case, and we're all a lot smarter for it. But Fuzzy Belvedere, again, there is some anxiety within the community, and like I said, I have a strong suspicion that based on facts, based on evidence, which is supposed to be based on history, that no vertical merger has ever been blocked in U.S. history in the last 50 years, that the judge is going to look at all the evidence and see that the FTC, who it was their job to prove Microsoft wrong, did not do that good of a job. And I think that ultimately the injunction that the FTC is looking for, I don't think they're going to get. And when that happens, we know that Microsoft has to wait 5 days in order to close, in which they will close. And we'll see, maybe at that point when the judge denies the FTC, maybe CAT in the UK moves on the FTC and says, yeah, listen, you know what? There was no cloud SLC. So what we're going to do is we're going to approve the deal, and that's going to be that. So who knows? But how you feeling, Fuzzy?
I'm doing great, man. It's almost like Christmas Eve kind of feel. It's a little bit of anxious, a little bit of nervousness, but a whole bunch of excitement for this week's announcement with the judge, Corley. She was definitely on the ball all last week, asking questions of both sides, making sure that they're not just trying to throw numbers out there type of thing. But it looks like everything is going rather well, and that anticipation and waiting is the key thing now. But man, oh man, it's going to be, whether the decision goes one way or another, we still have a lot of stuff ahead on the Xbox side of things. And man, this is going to be a pretty busy year between Forza and Starfield, and man, we got so much to talk about. So let's go ahead and do this.
Absolutely. And plus, we also have breaking news, folks. South Africa, another country added to the long list of approvals, and they do it in a way that just makes everything that when you see South Africa. Now, how big is it? How big is South Africa of a market for Microsoft? I couldn't tell you. I really have no idea. But they're another country that has approved this deal with zero concessions. And when you see what happened with the CMA, when you see what's going on with the CMA, obviously it's a political agenda. It's not based on rights. It's not based on law. It's not based on facts. It's not based on history. It's a political agenda from two governmental bodies that are trying to help out one another. So we'll see what happens. But again, we'll talk about that and a whole bunch of other things. Again, Florian Mueller, who has been nothing short of really just covering it in such a way, it's been nothing short of incredible. Like some of his theories have been top notch, and again, it makes total sense. Now, obviously, we know that he wants the deal to pass because he's a fan of Xbox. I think we all are. But it's how he said it and what he said that makes it all make sense. But Dave, good morning, brother. How you feeling? And welcome.
I'm feeling great. Sorry about running in the last minute. My boss has me doing all kinds of files since it's the beginning of the month, and it's like we got to get some work done because we're off tomorrow. So I'm like, panic. But I'm good. I'm here. I'm on my break, so I'm ready to roll. Yes.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you. And of course, I do want to talk about the breaking news, folks. Obviously, we have learned that South Africa has, in fact, passed the deal with no concessions whatsoever. I want to bring up Lulu because obviously Lulu Chang Mercery basically does what she does. And she tweeted this 2 hours ago when we found out. She says this, folks. Glad to see South Africa joining dozens of countries around the world in approving our merger. The facts are undeniable. The deal benefits players and competition and brings more games to more devices than ever before. Now, this is obviously, she retweeted the Competition Tribunal of South Africa, and they tweeted this morning, merger alert. The Competition Tribunal has unconditionally approved the proposed merger, which is a global transaction whereby Anchorage Merger Sub Incorporated, a wholly owned subsidiary of Microsoft, intends to acquire Activision Blizzard. So again, folks, another country says, yes, we approved the deal. Another country says, yes, there are no conditions. It's unconditionally. And it just adds more weight. Now, does this approval actually will help the judge make her decision? The answer is no, it will not. She has all of the evidence in front of her. Obviously, they did 4 days of back and forth with witness after witness after witness and cross-examination after cross-examination. And I was very fortunate to be in the Zoom calls for all four. Every day a day of court finished, it seemed like Microsoft was edging closer to the judge not agreeing with the FTC in order to block the deal and granting the injunction. The last day of the cross-examination, I was a little uneasy. I'm going to be honest with you folks. But I wasn't uneasy in console. Console SLC basically was destroyed by Jim Ryan and their own witnesses. I thought that the cloud might give Microsoft some trouble, but then again, I started talking with people, listening to other people's opinions, and like I said, for me, I wasn't sure Crazy Lou Gaming what the cloud SLC would do. But let's before we get into that, because we are going to cover that, we are going to cover the Sega talk about what happens next. Sega, do they acquire them in 2024? I think that they do, or at least announce that they're going to attempt to acquire Sega in 2024. Let's talk about the South African approval. How big of a deal is it?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, the more approvals they get, the better. like you said, of course, we understand that it won't help out with the case. I understand that it won't help with the case because, yes, she has to make her own decision on everything she has on right in front of her. But yes, it's a good thing that South Africa approved because the more approvals, the better. The more it kind of helps out and shows a bit that a lot of countries are saying, "Hey, we want this deal to go through because it's going to help us. It's going to help an economy grow. It's going to do a couple things. That we need some of this to grow. Like I always said before. I don't have cloud in Dominican Republic. I wish I can get cloud gaming here. So for those countries to be approving, super happy about it. Woo. And man, just waiting for that judge to make that decision. And I hope she does say yes so that we can get this deal done and going through. Seriously, we need that cloud to be everywhere. It's going to make us happier, simpler, and, enjoy gaming wherever we want to. And that's what we want, right? That's how it is. So let's wait to see what she says, man. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we know that that it's going to be sealed at least into the 12th. Now I don't know if Microsoft does get the nod and they don't and she doesn't issue the injunction, which again I just don't know how that's gonna work because there's so much daunting evidence that it would make literally no sense. And I know that there's been a lot of theories. If you listen to everyone, I mean, like I said, depending on who you talk to, you actually had a debate on your show between who's on your show that debated it, because I know that you said Purple was for the block, and of course Ecstasies, who was on our show as well, is telling her no, that is absolutely incorrect.
What they were arguing is that if the FTC did have a case, and how would they have a case, and how it was a debatable thing, on how the FTC does have something that we probably are not seeing, and how Microsoft, is basically more prepared than them. Because here's the thing about what I saw, and this is like what I deduced from all this debate, is that if the FTC would have sat down, right, and looked at the documents, looked at everything, with Microsoft has been trying to sit down with them, they could have probably have something. But if after hearing this case on Thursday on what happened with the judge and the questions of what the judge was asking, I basically saw literally all the way that the FTC their arguments are just not that good. I mean,
they're
they don't
weak.
have
They're very weak.
They're really
weak.
They're really weak. I mean, for me, this is like a position for them to stall and make it, stall it for more longer. That's what I'm seeing. They're trying to look for ways to stall it in order for Microsoft to make that purchase. Because, example, they said they don't have the agreements, that they made with NVIDIA and all this stuff. Why? Because you guys have not sat down with Microsoft to look at it. And Microsoft is willing to sit down with you guys and say, hey, look at this. So basically, for me, what I'm seeing is they're trying to look for a way to stall in order for them to get more information and more stuff to say, hey, we actually have a way to say, that this merger is not good. But at the end of the day, the way Microsoft is handling it, I mean, for what we were seeing, because this is what we were seeing, this is what we were reading, it looks good on their side. And also how the judge was asking those questions on this Thursday, hey, is PlayStation, why doesn't PlayStation up their game?
Yep.
The PlayStation Plus to compete, the FTC was like, they mumble something. Why? Because it basically, what you're trying to show is that you're defending just the company, but not us, the consumers. And basically the judge was trying to show them that they should just up their game, shut up and up their game in order to compete. Because, hey, why not? It would be better for us, if we could get a better PlayStation Plus service than it is. I'm not saying it's bad, it's good, but it would be better if we get a service like PlayStation Plus to be like a Game Pass, But
well, what's interesting to that point is that it was one of those gasping type of moments during during the closing arguments, when the judge had to multiple times say it's not about PlayStation, it's about the consumers.
Yeah, and I agree with her 100%, because hey, it's all about us. And basically all they did was, during the case, was talk Sony.
Yep.
They were trying to push Jim Ryan what he was saying, but hey, this is not about Jim Ryan. This is not about Sony. This is not about Cinemax. It's not about this. This is about let's get Call of Duty on Xbox. This is what's about. And what can they do? How can they do harm? How can the market in the future could do harm to the other to the consumers? But here's the thing, though. Xbox has been open all the way, and they said, hey, okay, we're pitching it everywhere. We're not going to lock this down because they're probably scared, they're going to lock it down. And they brought a good point. They mentioned Minecraft, and Minecraft is a game that, because since they had it all open, and basically Minecraft was for me one of the most expensive buys they did, which was $4 billion, right, for just that one game. That was just for that one studio, $4 billion. That's a lot of money. And what did? They just gave it to everybody and said, hey, this is everywhere, for you to play.
Well, that's because they were going to make money left, right, and center. I mean, obviously,
exactly.
It was actually, believe it or not, it was actually part of the reason why the guy that owned Minecraft sold. One of his stipulations was you can't take this away from the players.
Yeah.
Right. And they didn't. Minecraft is on 20 different platforms right now. And I believe that's exactly what would happen with Call of Duty. I mean, to me, it seems very common sense thinking. Why narrow your margin for making money to Xbox when it is the number 3 place to play your games? That's ridiculous. Where's the number 1 place to play Call of Duty? Like today, right now, July 3rd. That's PlayStation. So why narrow it to a keyhole when you can just open up the whole door and keep making money everywhere?
Yeah, especially since they got to come back with $70 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money, and that's going to take them a long time. And locking it down in one system is just not going to be favorable for them. It's just not going to work. Because, okay, you probably get some players to go in, get your subscription, get your Xbox and everything. Yeah, okay, that can happen. But either way, though, you need to make that money, and it's going to take you a while to get that money back. And locking it down on one system or on PC is just not going to be enough.
No, it's certainly not. You're not going to you're not going to move that many people, and obviously it was one of the things that destroyed the console SLC during the hearing when they kept talking about the 20%. And where did this 20% come from? Oh, we don't know. Yeah. Again, too many unknowns, too many I don't knows for it to legitimately be a block. And again, I think it's not the judge's problem that that Activision would walk away. That's not her problem. Her problem is law. She has to rule on the case on law. But Fuzzy, let's talk about South Africa again. Maybe it's not the biggest market for gaming, but it is a tribunal. It is a market. They did approve it unconditionally, with no concessions. That's a big deal. That is a big deal.
Oh yeah, and I guess it's another one of those countries that's in line with the consensus or the reasonable thought as far as when it comes to competition. Right now, just the UK and I guess Canada and our FTC are the only ones that are like, this is bad. This is bad for the consumer. And
New Zealand said something this morning where they said they don't count Nintendo as a market combatant, if you will. Which I checked the last show. Breakfast of Boom. I didn't bring it up. Does anyone know that Nintendo has sold 125 million plus Nintendo Switches since 2017. This console is moving in a direction that it actually might be the biggest selling Nintendo product in the history of Nintendo since 1985, ladies and gentlemen. Think about that for a second. 85 NES, 91 Super NES. And I don't know every year, after that, but all I can tell you is that the Wii was the number one selling console, and the Switch is going to surpass it. Think about that for a second. And you don't count, you somehow want to discount the Switch as, listen, I'm tired of Gen 8 versus Gen 9 versus a number. Can I walk into, and I'm glad the judge actually said this. When I walk into a Best Buy and I look at the shelf, there's a PlayStation 5, there's an Xbox Series X or S, and there's a Nintendo Switch. As a consumer, I could decide where I want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny how some countries will still fall on that keeping it as a separate thing. Oh, the high end market versus, I guess,
Ridiculous.
the low end market or the kid market. I don't know how they want to label Nintendo, but it's still a formidable competitor in this market. I mean, they have a higher attach rate than almost anyone when it comes to hardware and their particular first party titles. They have found a way to make it a science where if we sell, this Switch, 125 million units, we're going to try to sell close to 30, 40, or 50 million of this game to pretty much all of those Switch owners. So they definitely have their place in the market. But I like how South Africa looked at it as it not harming the consumer. And a lot of other countries have done the same, where the only harm really comes to who would be the market leader, because it's bringing more competition to their doorstep. And these regulatory bodies aren't supposed to really worry about the market leader in that regard, unless the market leader is the one trying to shut down other businesses and prevent them from, even having a place within the market. But instead, it seems like our FTC and the CMA decided, well, we're going to flip the script and decide not that the consumer doesn't matter. It's all about who fills our pockets or lobbyists or something to that effect. Or maybe they're just PlayStation fanboys in after office hours or something. But yeah, it's great to see another country has hopped on board as far as supporting this deal for further competition, more options or more choice for the consumer. We'll see what New Zealand's final result is going to be, but as far as like not counting Nintendo, it seems silly in the grand scheme of things, because like you said, if you go into Best
Ridiculous.
Buy, all those consoles are there. They may be different generations or different tech levels, but a lot of games are going to be on all three of them. There's going to be, specific games that draw you to one particular platform. So they're all out there to earn your dollars. And that's at the end of the day, that should be the main competing factor. But good for South Africa. Hopefully Judge Corley comes through here in the next day or two. And then, hopefully Cat, puts the hammer down on the CMA, and we'll see how that goes. But man, this is going to be a glorious month leading into the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I wouldn't be. Listen, folks, I have a very high moral compass. Okay, now maybe it's more than most, but that's my personal thing. Like I'm a big integrity guy. Like that's my thing. That's how my dad was, and that's how I was as a cop. Like integrity, honor, and integrity. The highest thing you could be, literally the highest thing for me personally is to maintain those two things. So my center is all about justice, right, and doing what's right. If this deal is somehow held up by an injunction, my moral compass for justice is going to be going to be hurt, because I understand someone's going to be like, oh, that's just an Xbox. Folks, the truth of the matter is that this deal is going to be good for everyone, not just Xbox. And the fact that, again, we're going to get into it, because the way that Florian broke it down is we're going to talk about it, because it's really, really well discussed and really well versed.
And can I say something real quick? Because I find it funny how people always try to bring Nintendo out. But I gotta say this though, and this is the truth. PlayStation came out because of Nintendo. And
that's correct. Yes.
That's correct. Yes. And not only that, when PlayStation came out, I remember those commercials with Crash Bandicoot going to the PlayStation, not PlayStation, to the Nintendo place with a what's it called? That big, you put the police out.
The megaphone.
The megaphone, yeah, and yelling, calling them pretty boy, trying to compete with them. So how is it not part of the competition when you did it 30 years ago? Seriously. Oh,
I don't know. It's a double standard, but Dave, let's get your take on South Africa, because obviously Snooky Jackson is in the chat and says South Africa actually has 61 million people, which is I'm not surprised by that at all. He said it's a beautiful country. Indeed, it is. And with that said, I don't know what the gaming market, how big the gaming market is. I don't know, but all I know is that it's another approval, and it is a big deal. But let's get your take on the approval, Dave. Another feather in the cap for Microsoft.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one more, and it's just another reason why you shouldn't stop this deal at all. One thing I want to go back to is what Crazy Lou said, like in questioning the like the FTC and why they're blocking it, why they're there doesn't seem to be any reason for them to block it, and it's all political. It's extremely the easiest way you can come down to it is it's a political agenda. And I don't mean to talk political, but I mean that's
It's a part of the
really what it is.
conversation, Dave.
That is why they do not want it to go through. It's because big tech is basically more Republican like party, big business, and the Democratic Party, which is in power, brought in Lena Khan with a mandate to stop big tech. She's losing all these cases because thank God there's still other people in place, and we have a democracy where these things and judges, hopefully, aren't corrupt, that are really focused on the real reasons for this, and that's why it's most likely going to get passed, and probably I'd say we might hear something more along the lines of Friday. Friday makes more sense to me because I
agree.
She can drop it, and then she doesn't have to worry about anything for the weekend. She doesn't have to hear any lip or any, and the parties will know. We will know which one won out, but it'll be sealed, so we won't know the contents or how she got to her decision until later. And then they'll go through and they'll quote unquote clean it up to make it redact whatever they need to for real this time. But I really believe that Friday we're going to know one way or the other. And if I was a betting man, I'd put all my chips in because to me it's 100% going to pass. If it doesn't pass, there's something wrong. And what you had said too about the FTC knows some things that we don't know. They threw everything out there. They threw the kitchen sink at this.
Did.
Because they wanted to try and stop it. There is no there. There is no hidden agenda. There is no, but you all don't know this. No, that it is all out there. And the reason we know that is because they want to stop this. And if they really wanted to stop it, they would have pulled their magic out of a hat to get the judge to do this. The whole thing is they're not trying to, they know they're going to lose. But with this kind of stuff in place, the whole premise is they want to drag it out as long as possible. Yeah. The longer they drag it out, the less likely the interest is going to wane.
Yep.
Because they may be these companies have a lot of money, but they don't have an endless.
It's not unlimited money either. You know what I'm saying?
So if they say, it's going to take us another year and a half to get this done, they're going to lose the taste for that because they can drop this and go after so many other things.
Yeah.
So that's my point.
Look, at the end of the day, I agree with Dave. I think that the sealed, it would be unsealed by the 12th. I think it is where we'll learn exactly what her. I think her decision comes this week. I think it does come on Friday. I would imagine that if this does go in Microsoft's favor, and by all rights it should, if we're going on law. If we're going on testimony, if we're going on documents that was provided by Microsoft, if we're going on history, folks. And speaking of history, let me just bring up a tweet from Florian Muller, FOSS Patents on Twitter. He says this, folks, and again, this is just for context. No U.S. court has prohibited a vertical merger under the FTC Act in more than 50 years. The current U.S. government wins only about 10% of its merger cases in court. Anyone who thinks that the FTC will get the PI in this case had better come up with some serious case-specific analysis. And I don't think that they can. I think that they were really overreaching. I think that they, again, I had questions for the cloud because I don't know. I've played cloud. I only played cloud because it's a part of my service. I wouldn't go out and buy cloud on the side, which we know that you can't do. And listen, at the end of the day, when the closing arguments ended on cloud as it did, and the lawyer for the FTC literally told the judge in open court, I just can't answer about cloud because it's I think it's, what is it, nascent market. I think believe that's what how you say that. Then how do you present your case to block a $69 billion deal on cloud that you don't know about? On a maybe, on a possibility. See, that might work for the CMA, which they're allowed to look forecast and say, yeah, it doesn't look good, we're going to block. The FTC has to have actual evidence to present. I don't think that they did, and like I said, if I had Everborn Saga here, I would actually let him explain the way he did on Saturday's show, which I'm actually going to reach out to him while we get into the next topic. But again, folks, before we get there, I do got to catch up on Super Chats. There's been quite a few of them. We also got a new member. King Webb has become a channel member. King, brother, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. We super appreciate it. We have Enigmatic Dreams drops a very generous $2 Super Chat and says, screw Sega, Capcom and Square, Parasite Eve, and RE. I don't want Square from a personal aspect. I don't like the company. I will not support the company. I think that it's good for console warring. If you want to be like, hey, they got one from Sony, so they own Square. I don't think Square does literally anything for Microsoft. That's just my personal take on it. I wouldn't want them. Capcom is a dream, but I don't know, man. They're just doing so well. It doesn't make sense for them to sell. It just doesn't make any sense. So
Hey, Boom, I
Yes,
want them
sir.
all. I want them all.
Yeah, I mean, you're like Infinite Umbra, very greedy. He's a greedy gamer. Like JD Gamer is also a greedy gamer like that as well. And TJ, Drawn TJ, another one. He wants everybody. Listen. I think that if they can push ABK across the line, it is going to advance what they want to do in a market that they don't have a thumbprint in, and that's mobile. It's also going to make a big difference in PC, which right now Blizzard was on the outs a couple of years ago because of some really poor management decisions. But now they are in a position where they have gained the love of the community through what happened with Diablo. So if Microsoft can get their hooks into that actually would be a really, really big deal. And then and again, the cherry on top of the sundae is basically a Call of Duty dropped into Xbox Game Pass. But we also have Highlander 001 drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, afternoon boom and panel. We are now on court watch. If Microsoft does acquire Activision, you will see Tencent, Amazon, Microsoft going after developers, publishers, and Sony will be priced out. I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible that Sony might find themselves in a bidding war with a Tencent, with an Amazon, because Amazon obviously just launched Luna into the UK, right? So they're serious. They're serious about the whole cloud gaming thing, and it makes sense. Cloud gaming is a future. How big of a future? I don't really know, but we'll see. Dean Rivera drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I'm sure Florian likes Xbox, but his commentary is very good because he's focusing on the law and facts of the case and not being biased. I mean, look, he's an Xbox guy, folks. But I think it's safe to really say that every time Florian has put his opinion out there, even if people agree, and that's the thing, have your disagreements. Maybe you don't agree with everything that Florian is saying. Okay, not a problem. But what he's doing to push his theory forward is give you law. He's basically breaking it down. He is a patents guy. He understands the law. And every time he breaks this down, like we're going to read one of his huge tweets, he does show both sides of it, and it makes perfect sense because he's giving you facts. He's giving you law. We also have Byron Lynch drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, not that this would ever happen, but I guess the FTC wouldn't care if Microsoft made a deal to acquire Nintendo. No, you see, that would be considered a horizontal merger. See, that's different because there are one of the big sole publishers that have a console that would definitely be considered. I mean, there's a couple of things. One, Nintendo would never sell. That's number one. Number two, it would be considered a horizontal merger because it's another big publisher that does the same thing as Xbox, and I don't think that would fly. That definitely would not fly. Activision is a publisher. Yes, they're a big publisher, but that's why it's considered a vertical merger and not a horizontal merger. And that's the other thing that was pretty interesting. The FTC tried to loosely during closing arguments, and I'm glad that Beth Wilkinson actually said this. She made mention of they're trying to loosely use the same ideology of a horizontal merger and kind of slip the vertical merger in there. That's not the way it works, folks. That you can't do that. It's one or the other, not both. Drawn TJ just a very generous $5 super chat and says, the judge to the FTC lawyer, does it hurt the consumer? No, it does. No, it does. It hurts workers. No, it doesn't. It hurts competition. And no, why do a block? I mean, look, the judge made it perfectly clear that for her to issue this, she was going to need more evidence. I don't think that the FTC brought the evidence where that again, who are we protecting, folks? Right? Like who at the end of the day, who are we going to protect? Is it Sony, the market leader for the last 2 decades, or is it consumers? And giving consumers choice, giving the market, giving Xbox Game Pass subscribers more bang for their buck. Well, what does that do? That forces Sony to be better. And I'm glad the judge actually said that. Why doesn't Sony make their service better? Crazy Lou mentioned that. Perfect example. We also have Scott Gamer Dude. Wow, he drops a very generous $20 super chat and says, hello, Boom, not the oldest. I just turned 55 July 1st. Hey, brother, happy birthday or happy belated birthday. 55 double nickels, brother. Oh, that's awesome. He says, another fellow podcaster shared this story. They were in Best Buy and overheard 70s couple debating getting Game Pass now when Starfield is released. Never too old a game. That's pretty cool. And I think, listen, I get it. If you're a PlayStation dude to do it and you don't have an Xbox and you're feeling a little jaded that a Bethesda game that was normally on everything is not going to be on your platform of choice, I understand. I understand why people would be upset. But at the end of the day, Sony does this more times than not. They have built their entire platform on withholding games from others. That is a fact. So if you think that Starfield is going to be one of those games, and I think it's going to be generational, like I really think that when we play this, we're all going to be like, yo, this is bananas. You're going to have to get an Xbox, or if you have a good enough PC, which the judge thinks everyone has at least $1,000 PC. I love that. I love that argument. Play it on your PC, and you'll probably be able to run at 60 frames, which is pretty dope. Scott, congratulations on your birthday, brother. Double nickels. You survived another year. Salute to you. We have a new member, Ender8412. Hey, dude, that's a name that I don't recognize. Welcome to the channel, brother. Hopefully you're enjoying it enough to subscribe, hit the like button. And of course, you became a channel member, so thank you so much for that. And Byron Lynch drops an additional $5 super chat and says, see, that's my point. The FTC continues to say Nintendo is not a competitor, but of course, it's a horizontal merger. They want their cake and they want to eat it as well. And look, we're gonna know at one way or the other. I have to say that whichever way this goes, you have to admit that Judge Corley was fair. She was honest in her questions. She drove the point home on whichever attorney needed to be pushed. the FTC needed more pushing, and the witnesses for the FTC needed more pushing than the Microsoft witnesses and the Microsoft attorney. But every now and again, she had to kind of, tell Beth Wilkinson, you gotta be better. You gotta explain better. And I think that it was fair. It honestly was fair from start to finish. But let me bring in the tweet that I want to talk about. Now, this came the way again of FOSS patents on Twitter, and I thought it's so good, folks, that please bear with me. He writes a lot. He's very intelligent, so I want to read it verbatim so you understand where I'm coming from and why I think this is a monumental tweet. He says this, folks: how the merger PI discussion might and how it would definitely not be made. And he has this: impossible. The FTC had a few interesting accolades. Let's block the merger. So he calls that impossible. This is where he has a long list of possibilities. He says, 1, cloud streaming is not a market, but a delivery method. It's game over for FTC regardless of all else, though the court is still free to discuss further issues. Number 2, the market is more or less worldwide. In any event, way beyond the U.S., either way, it's game over for the FTC regardless of what else. Fundamentally wrong marketing definition is sufficient, or if the court didn't want to stop right there, various other elements of the FTC's case would fail as a result of a broader market, which we obviously know the FTC and is fighting for soil here in the United States, but the truth of the matter is that gaming is a worldwide event. It's not dedicated to the CMA's location or the EU or the Americas. It's a world. We all know that. That's it should be plain and simple. Number 3, the FTC's expert did not calculate foreclosure scenario for cloud services, only for consoles. No evidence of specific impact, particularly of ultimate consumer harm. In the event of a cloud streaming foreclosure, it's game over for FTC regardless of all else. Number 4, Call of Duty is undoubtedly huge and important, but economic evidence, according to the FTC's expert, Professor Lee, versus Microsoft's expert, which is Dr. Bailey, fails to show that Call of Duty is uniquely critical input for cloud services, especially since NVIDIA, GFN, and xCloud are currently doing okay without Call of Duty. According to Florian, it's game over for FTC regardless of all else. Number 5, the no evidence for profitable foreclosure of rival cloud gaming services, game over for FTC regardless. Number 6, existing contracts, NVIDIA, Boosteroid, etc., EU remedies offered to Sony, etc., alleviate any potential foreclosure for concerns. It's game over for the FTC regardless of all else. Number 7, FTC waited 6 months to go to federal district court after bringing its House complaint. Now seeks overreaching injunction given that it's a vertical merger. ABK will be held separate post-acquisition, and a further divestiture would be possible. It's game over for the FTC. And he finally, in his closing, and again, folks, it's a lot to get into. The list of 7 ways to decide the case against the FTC, either based on one alone or a combination of 2 or more, is not even exhaustive. But the key thing to understand is that Microsoft and Activision Blizzard King have multiple lines of defense. And unless the FTC overcomes all of them, it will lose. It may then find consolation in a few sentences and paragraphs where the court says the FTC wasn't wrong on every detail, just not entitled to an injunction against a vertical merger under the law as it currently stands. Okay, I'm going to take a breath, folks, because that was a lot to read. Again, shout out to Florian, who has been, he has been superhero level. Like, I mean, if you didn't know who he was before this, my God, who doesn't know who this man is? And he was in the courtroom. And you know what? As busy as he was, and this is where I got to really salute him, I would tweet, DM him, and he would take the time to say, "Hey, Boom, I can answer the question, but I can't go into detail because I'm in the court." Who does that? But a proper gentleman, and I have to thank him for always answering my questions. A couple times, I've had a chance to have him on the show a couple of times, and if this deal does get approved, he has promised that he will come back on and we will talk about this. Dave, I want to go to you first. You're our money man. The way that he just broke that down seems like a very, very daunting ice covered hill for the FTC to ice skate up. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that he's absolutely correct in everything that he says. And the biggest part, I said it last night on our show last night, and I'll say it again here. The burden of proof is on the FTC. The Microsoft doesn't have the burden of proof, so it has to be clear and precise in the judge's eyes. And this judge, we all can see that she is incredibly intelligent. She's been on the bench for a long time. She is a legacy, meaning that she isn't once she's in, she can retire at her when she feels it's appropriate, but she can't be removed from the bench because she's not an elected official. She's appointed, and once you're appointed, you're a judge for life until either you step down or retire. So the biggest part about that is that she is going to be, and that's why she brought up all these points in closing and all these little tidbits that she threw out. If you were to just take her comments and just wash away everything else, you would see she's setting up so that when she makes her dissertation of the case, that it's going to be clear and precise as to why, because she doesn't want this in any way being able to be overturned or come back, or say anybody got an unfair look at this. She's gonna cross all the T's, dot all the I's, make sure everything is exactly what it needs to be, and probably even more so than it needs to be. Clear, precise. So this is and like you said, this won't be, it's sealed. So, but we will know one way or the other which side, quote unquote, came out victorious soon. And his thoughts on this are right there. It's just everything that he's talked about. This isn't it wasn't a jury case. It's not about the case itself. It's about the injunction, the stoppage. Can they stop Microsoft now from closing before they actually get to trial? And with all the evidence we've seen, the answer is no, because when it does go to trial, and it might possibly still go to trial in a few years, even after it's done and over with, they can still, the FTC, if they want to beat a dead horse, they can still bring it to trial.
Yes, they can also file an appeal. They have 5 days, folks. And again, if it goes in Microsoft's favor, as we all believe it's going to go because of law, because of everything in front of us, the FTC has 5 days to file an appeal. We'll see what happens if they even bother, because that's more money wasted. And if it's already been, they wouldn't win the appeal. But I do want to throw that out there, Dave.
And no, you're right. And the thing is, Microsoft, from the date of her verdict, her final opinion, they have 5 days, a grace period, before they can close over.
That is correct. Yes.
So they have lawyers. I guarantee you there are people being paid right now to set in whatever courtroom or court area or filing center, as it would be, where they have to file with the documents all ready to go for the closing of the deal, ready to turn them in. So as soon as that grace period is up, boom. So even if the FTC comes in and says, well, it's been 5 days, now here's our appeal, they're not going to be able to get a judge to turn around within a matter of seconds to okay, cool, you win your appeal, so now Microsoft has to wait again. No, that's not going to happen. The appeal process will take probably a few days, and they'll have to try, like they did this last time, trying to sign a judge and this and that. So that's what will happen, and they will not be able to stop it. Once the judge, which I believe in my heart this is going to happen, is going to side with Microsoft, then it's just going to go through. It's going to close, and then there will be some repercussions. There'll be some other things, but once we know for sure which way it leans, that 5-day grace period, not only will they have the 5 days to, we're getting ready to go and close it, but then the CMA will basically have 5 days to be like, ooh, you know what? Let's just go ahead and clean up our mess. And then they'll come out as, we did the right thing, and they won't have any problems. If they still play sticky ball, knowing that their government and everybody else pretty much in the UK want the deal to go through, and they're still the ones holding the bag, it's not going to look good for them. And Microsoft, I guarantee you, we know for a fact that they already have a special team of lawyers that looked into everything they have to do to work around the UK, and that is already a ball set to go into motion as soon as this gets approved by our judge.
I have a strong suspicion that the FTC, well, not so much the FTC, I mean the FTC, that CAT is in a holding pattern, because obviously you saw last Friday that the CMA tried to do something sneaky, and they tried to ask for an extension that brought it all the way out to October. And of course, the CAT was like, we can't even defend this kind of shenanigans. You're denied. By everyone on the tribunal denied it, because it's ridiculous. So I think what they're waiting for, and what we could see happen in those 5 days before they close, is CAT could potentially tell the world that, hey, listen, there was no SLC for cloud. The CMA got it wrong, and we're going to close over the CMA. And in that 5 days, they would come before Microsoft would actually close the deal. They would have the approval from the CMA, and after that, those are the three bigs that they needed, and it'd be a done deal. Again, I think everything, folks, is riding on Judge Corley's decision, which hopefully will be by week's end. Fuzzy, let's get your hot take on Florian's breakdown. It is lengthy. I put it into the DM. Extremely well written, a fantastic breakdown, and it does make it makes sense from a legal point of view. For you, what jumped off the page on his theory of breakdown for what the FTC would actually need to convince a judge?
The biggest thing is that they really didn't provide the beyond a shadow of a doubt evidence that would be needed as far as the harm to consumer, basically. With everything that he broke down on that list, they pretty much missed on all fronts. And with that being said, this should, and I say should, be a slam dunk, but I hate using that word. But it's just funny to me that the FTC in general has spent so much time using taxpayer dollars to fight this case when it's not really the mission that they're tasked to do. And I can only imagine if they file for an appeal, how many more dollars will be put to waste. It's going to be a pretty fun time to have Florian back on Double Barrel Gaming, but I just can't imagine where Judge Corley really bought their Kool-Aid or the fact that she called them on the 20% number that their expert came up with. Like at some point, and I joke about this somewhat, but I really want people to check the receipts for these experts that the FTC hired and where their place is within the market, because whatever advice they gave the FTC to argue this case just wasn't it. And they paid probably thousands, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to these experts to advise them. And it's all for naught, basically. So I think Florian's been, on top of it from day one, as far as like all the legal points and angles for this case. CMA was a bit of a wild one for us. I think that was just kind of like what Web Dave was saying, political to some extent. But it also, the whole thing, we'll see about the collusion investigation later. Hopefully there is one, but there's minimal leeway of where the FTC has a victory on this one. They didn't come prepared in the manner that would convince a judge. It's already ruled on, like the PlayStation fanboys case not too long ago, that there was anything more there that was not revealed in that previous case that would be of harm to the consumer. So it's great breakdown. Just hoping there's no shenanigans or bizarro world stuff going on, but I totally see that this will pan out here, hopefully before Friday. I'm hoping she's willing to give a judgment by Wednesday, but we'll see how soon she comes back from the 4th of July holiday and stuff. But man, oh man, can't wait.
Yeah, I wonder who's going to find out first. Like who's the first one? Who of this amazing community is going to find out? Is it Florian? Is it Hogue Law? Is it going to be Ecstasy? You know what I'm saying? Like someone's going to find out soon enough. And I hope that we're all here for it. I'm looking for. My moral compass of justice says that there's literally nothing wrong with this deal, outside of it being a $69 billion deal. The number is scary. The number is big. I totally understand it. I get it. But there's fundamentally nothing wrong with this deal. And there's nothing illegal about Microsoft trying to compete in a market that, not trying to be funny, they have been in third place for as long as you could possibly remember. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. They've been in third place, not because they suck. It's because Sony has done a lot of things to keep them there. And some of it has been Microsoft's own fault. Obviously, when Donnie D was running the show, he didn't do a good job launching the Xbox, Xbox One. He said some pretty dumb things, and they lost a lot of goodwill and momentum with the 360s. So they had to crawl and fight all the way back, and now they're in a position where their first party is going to kick total ass in the next couple of years. And adding Call of Duty and all of those crazy, amazing studios, which have been stuck in the salt mines of Call of Duty for years, will now be able to actually make other games, which is pretty dope. Crazy Lou Gaming, what of Florian's breakdown jumps off the page for you? Because for me, it was Cloud, because I was uneasy with Cloud, but he broke it down along with Everborn Saga on Saturday's Gaming Circle podcast on why we shouldn't be concerned, because not even the FTC could give an answer as to why Cloud was somehow going to hurt consumers. They said, I don't know. I don't know how you say that, but they said it.
Oh Lord. Here's the thing, though. If you're gonna have a case, you gotta have your facts straight, and that's something that's the truth. If you don't have your facts straight, you're either gonna lose or you're just gonna look really bad. And basically, what happened in this case is that they just didn't have anything, to say, okay, if you do this, it just did not have anything. And what FOSS is saying is actually true, you know, because if you don't have something for the judge to look at, for the judge to see and say, oh, hey, you actually make a good point here. Let me look at this. Let me see where else I can look for this, you know, and get my facts straight. Then yes, you do have an argument. You do have a right to fight. I get something from the FTC. Yes, this is a big tech company that's going out there spending money. I do get that. And of course, it's scary when you see these big companies going out there buying everything they can buy and pretty much shooing away the competition, right? They're saying, okay, we're going to shoot you. Okay, I get you. I get that fact. I get it. I will be scared too, especially since that buy, because they literally spent pretty much a lot more than I think it was double the price than what Activision Blizz it was. I think it was double pretty much. I think it was double, yeah. So when they spend that amount of cash on that company, you know, it opened the eyes to everybody. We were looking at this, and yes, I understand you guys have your fear, you guys have all your stuff, but in order to fight this off, you gotta have a case which you guys did not present. I mean, even Jim Ryan on stand, he was saying, I don't know. So basically, all your arguments that you brought up were basically I don't knows. Same thing with the FTC. You guys were talking about, you know, where'd you get this 20%? Oh, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You brought up this number. You don't know how you came up with this number. I mean, you got to say, okay, we brought this number because, you know, Microsoft can do this. Microsoft, you know, can grab this game or grab the subscription and, you know, and probably mess up competition and basically, you know, put their thing everywhere and you can only have access this way. I mean, seriously, if you guys never had any facts, I mean, why go to court? Why go to this? And I agree with Mr. Dave down there when he said, you know, this is a political thing. And it seems like it is a political thing. I'm looking at it as like it is a political thing. I don't live in the States, but it seems to me like, yes, it's a political thing. Trying to stop this deal for what? I don't know. I don't understand. Because if you got a company that basically has been all open about this deal, they've been open about it. They've been telling you guys, hey, this is going to be like this. This is what's going to happen. You know, I want everybody to come play this game. You know, I want everybody to grab this game because this is going to be the way we are going to get our money back. You know, and that's the truth. That's the only way. Locking it in is just not going to work. So FTC never had a case. The judge even asked questions. And I love how the way she asked questions, especially the PC part when you mentioned earlier. That was for me one of the funniest things. Like, you know, like, oh, what if they don't have a PC? You know, oh, but PCs, you know, cost a lot more money. But when she mentioned like, oh, but during the pandemic, a lot of people went out there and bought a bunch of PCs. And that's the truth. They bought a $1,400 PC. So they can game, you know, or do whatever they do on their PCs. So it's funny how just every argument they try to bring into the table, the judge just dropped it down and just she literally laid the smackdown on them, like how people say, especially that part of PlayStation. You know, hey, why doesn't their service, you know, start competing with this service? I mean, that was the part I was like, whoa, you know, I was shocked by her saying that, which is insane because really. Like I said earlier before, I understand that Sony wants to keep its marketplace. I understand that, but hey, we gotta let other companies come up. We gotta change the way we think about gaming. We gotta let gaming change and go through another way, and that's the truth. I mean, we can't be, you know, with this whole exclusive content the way it is. And of course, I agree with exclusive content. I'm not saying I'm not agreeing with it. It's good, but the way Xbox is trying to do business. It's literally going to change a lot of things for us in the near future. I mean, we need this change. We do need it. We need to, you know, grab our games, play it anywhere, especially on an airplane, anywhere we go, everywhere we are. It's a way to be comfortable. Like, for example, you're waiting at the doctor's appointment, you can play. Awesome. Like I said, this is going to change. This is going to be good. And FOSS, literally, I just love how FOSS puts out the facts out there. You know, and one thing that really dropped, you know, I was really with my mouth open when he says that only 10% has won. The FTC has only won 10% of these cases. I mean, if you guys have only won 10%, why are you guys trying to look for more percentages? I mean, if you guys don't have the facts, just get up, you know, get away and just don't go through this court case. Really, it's just going to ruin more your image, especially since you don't have the facts. And that's the sad part. You guys did not have nothing to prove out there. Nothing.
Well, look, Again, I'm hoping that we do learn something by week's end, by Friday. It would be great if, in fact, that is in fact the case. Uh, like I said, we won't know the actual particulars of the judge's ruling outside. She's either going to issue the PI or she's not going to issue the PI. If she doesn't issue the PI, I think at that point, we're, as Xbox fans, we can all take I guess a victory lap, if you will. I in my heart, like Dave was saying, I believe that she is not going to issue it because there's just not enough evidence to prove harm to the consumer. That ultimately, that's what it is. The console situation, with competition, is not going to. It has been destroyed. Jim Ryan himself destroyed that. But I think that there is not enough here, folks. But I want to have some fun, because that's what you're supposed to do on these shows, right? You're supposed to come out here, you're supposed to laugh, you're supposed to have some fun. And I want to talk about Sega because, ever since the document where we had confirmation, folks, that Phil Spencer had actually set up hey, we want to push this, we want to make the offer to Sega. And that's not the case, right? Sega's not happening yet. And I say that, Dave, because who did Sega just acquire? See, like my conspiracy brain starts to work, and I blame you, Everborn Saga, for this. They actually just acquired Rovio, who makes Angry Bird. Now, again, Angry Bird is not as prevalent as it was maybe 5 years ago, maybe even longer. But to suggest that there isn't, man, it's too coincidental for my conspiracy blood, folks, not to suggest a couple of things. Let's just say, for shits and giggles, that ABK goes through like we all believe it's going to go through, and Microsoft now owns King. King is huge. King is monstrous, right? There's no doubt about it. But if they go and they announce next year that they're going to acquire Sega, which we knew that they already were talking about at one point, and we knew that Sega said that right now they're not ready to be acquired by anybody, and that's fine. Right now, that's fine. But if they could acquire Sega and Sonic comes home and Sonic is first party, and then you talk about you add Rovio to King, I gotta tell you, folks, to me, it seems like the most logical choice, because obviously they're gonna get Sega. Sega is a legendary IP. Sonic is Sonic right now is as popular as he was, maybe even more popular than he was, Dave, in the 90s with the current generation of gamers. And we have a new Sonic coming out. Obviously, there's a third film that the other two films did gangbuster numbers. Where does your excitement come for Sega possibly being acquired by Microsoft? Not even announced this year, because they everyone's going to need a break. It's this ABK thing has been long. It's been drawn out. Hopefully, it goes the way of Microsoft as we all hope. To be honest with you. I think, man, it would be pretty freaking dope, man, if you can get Sega to really close the gap, especially in the Asian region, where Sega, listen, is huge there. What are your thoughts on this? Is this where Microsoft is going to go next? Sega! There you go.
Yes, I think so. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like you said, it all kind of falls into place. Their recent acquisition, and his "not now" statement means, not now,
not right now, not today,
ready.
not this Tuesday.
Yeah, not now, not maybe, AKA not until Microsoft is ready to purchase this. But and they've been working out these great deals. They're working out, lots of great product coming their way. Can you imagine Sonic Team working on a Banjo Kazooie? Just saying.
Cheers. Listen, I don't
maybe
care. Listen, I don't
Knights and
care
Banjo
who
crossover.
does it.
Just saying. It's anything's possible. Anything like that is. So, as of right now at this point, yeah, it's wishful thinking, of course. But man, you got to think positive and think that the breadcrumbs are there. And I agree with you, Boom. I mean, it's and of course, Everborn would be, he would say, from your lips to God's ears. That's what he wants it bad. I know he does. But it does make sense. It would be a good thing to have. But we know they're not going to stop there. They're not going to stop at one. I think in the meantime, as the quote unquote ABK deal settles in for a little while, that's when they're going to go after, hopefully, was it Asobo? And a bunch.
I mean, there's quite. I mean, listen. Quite frankly, there are quite a few. There's Certain Affinity. There's one that's almost a no-brainer. They have Asobo, which, I mean, why wouldn't you get them?
Right.
IO Interactive's another one. Selfishly, like, I'm not a Hitman guy. I played a lot of them. I've only beaten the first, I think, 3. I beat the first 3. Then after that, it got a little bit too much for me. But I mean, having the Hitman IP as first party, that's kind of a big deal.
And they can easily get these just the studios by themselves.
Yes,
for pennies. I mean, to be honest, compared to what they, and they can get those without any kind of regulation, there is no there. It's a straight out purchase price. Boom, 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 boom. Way under the quote unquote cap. And then they have to go to the board for permission. They already have a certain set. I think it's so many billions of dollars that they can actually pull the trigger on without even having to go and get approval. It's like, hey, Phil says he needs this. All right, cool. Cut him a check.
Anything under 500,000, I believe Amy Hood makes 500 million makes that call without having to go to the board. Just out of and just for context, folks, I'm checking it live right now, and this is crazy. This is pretty crazy. Sega Sammy Holdings, as of literally 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is 5.10 billion US. So, I mean, they could think about that. They could logistically bring home Sega for less than Bethesda.
Oh yeah.
That's Sonic, folks.
And they could afford to put extra money in there just to make sure the deal gets done right away.
Yeah.
And still not sweat it because they have over $90 billion available after the ABK deal. Still cash on hand available. Let that sink in as to how much they could buy for that. They could buy Sega 10 times over. Just saying.
I think what's even more crazy is when you consider, and again, I'm not taking nothing away from Call of Duty and what it brings, but when you say it's going to cost Microsoft $70 billion.
One thing I got John in the chat. This whole premise that people got in their head that it's a Japanese company, it's not going to happen because it's a Japanese company. That is absolutely 1,000%
that's an incorrect thought. Yeah,
exactly. Boom, you can probably explain it probably better than I can as to why that is. But I mean, there is definitely some things to go through, but it is not without the realm.
I could be wrong. I don't think that I am. I know that I sent a message out to Everborn to see if he wanted to jump in. He's on a work call. He said as soon as he's done with the work call, he's going to pop in for a hot second. We'll get his hot Sega take because he hasn't had a chance to really talk about that, at least on my show. And then we'll get his cloud SLC theory of harm that has been wiped away. But the reason why Japan has this law in place is to protect them from foreign entities coming in unchecked to buy stock or buy companies in their region. That's to protect them. That's originally to protect them from China, not so much from anyone else. Right now, Microsoft has roots in Japan, and it would not be considered a foreign entity because they already invest in that region of the world. They have studios there. They have an office, a Microsoft and Xbox office in Japan. They have roots planted in that region. So, yes, would it be difficult? Would
Yes.
it face regulatory scrutiny?
Sure.
Yes, all of that. No doubt about it. But with that said, that does not mean it wouldn't happen.
Hargeet's
So-
in the chat too, by the way.
Who's that?
Hargeet is in the chat. Don't know if he's available, but just wanted to let you know he is there.
Okay. Well, Hargeet, first of all, brother, welcome as always. I don't
love
know if you, I don't know if you have 5 minutes. If you do, let me know, and I'll if you can explain this. You don't want to jump in for 5 minutes and jump out. Maybe I'm doing a terrible way of explaining why they can't invest in Japan. But let me know, and I'll email you the links. You could pop in for a hot second. But I'm just going to email you now. If you can jump in, you can jump in. But Crazy Lou Gaming, let's get your hot take. But before I do, hold on just a second. There's been a ton of super chats, and I got to catch up with them. We have okay, hold on. We said Sega, and he has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. Everborn Saga. Hello, sir. We said Sega, and here you are.
This is how it happens, man. You say it 3 times in the mirror, I show up
So,
behind you. Pause.
Here's okay. Let's talk
like
for
5-10 minutes.
Yes. So
go
let's
ahead.
get before we get into the Sega talk, because you can say that in 2 minutes because you're good like that. You had an unbelievable theory on why the FTC failed on cloud, where I was honestly concerned about, and you talked about that with Gaz from Game On Daily on Saturday's Gaming Circle podcast. Can you quickly break that down as to why that's not going to be where the FTC wins?
Well, I don't want to say that's not going to be where the FTC wins. I will say I will be very surprised if it is where they win, because again, as Hogue says, you can't
account for crazy. Right.
Now, everything that I saw from Judge tells me she's not crazy. So I feel good about it, but I don't want to make a definitive statement. I want to jinx it, right? That being said, superstition aside,
right.
The way to think about it is a lot of people were saying the FTC just needs to raise doubt, right? But that's not the standard here. The standard is what is the likelihood of the FTC. First of all, there's 3 hurdles. Did you define your market properly? Meaning, is this a separate market for there to be any potential harm in, right? And what people are, I think, weary about the cloud is maybe they did define it correctly for the cloud, although just because the judge thinks it is going to be a thing, that does not mean on the rules of antitrust market definition that this necessarily constitutes a market. And how markets are defined, again, as it relates to I think it's a stretch, because the FTC wants you to think of the market as the technology you're using, but the full definition that based on the FTC Act, right? That says what is the sensitivity to consumers based on price. Or price sensitivity of consumers, which means if a market player decides to raise prices on a thing, are consumers' alternatives if they don't want to pay that high price? And if there's nothing they can do to raise the price, then you have monopoly, right? That's what defines your market. So as an example, I'm in New York, right? If Con Ed raises the price on electricity, I can't go to somebody else.
Right.
I have no choice but to pay Con Ed, right? So that's what that market. Now, with cloud, we already know if you want to pay whatever a cloud provider is charging, guess what? I can go physical, right? That's a
Right.
substitution right there that says it should be considered in the same market. That is by the legal standard there, right? And then, that goes, across the board to say, if the cloud prices get too high, I can, as a consumer, switch, right? So there's that. I don't pass the market definition, but let's say they get through that hurdle, right? Let's say cloud is a market. It's a nascent market, right? And the judge asked them specifically, well, Dr. Lee, who was the FTC's economist, he said that the market research that he did, the quantitative analysis that says, in the event that Microsoft does own Activision, what would be effects of that? So have you put this through your model? And we found out during the course of testimony and cross that the only scenario that Dr. Lee, the FTC's economist, the only scenario that he ran through his model was a full foreclosure scenario, meaning Microsoft pulls all Activision content away from every competitor and keeps it to their platform, right? So when asked, did you for subscription services or cloud, the answer was no, right? And even in the data that he did run, he did that based on Gen 8 numbers, meaning PS4, Xbox One. So then, and hang on a second, because my cat is literally stepping on the desk. Okay, give me 1 second here. I'm going to continue in 5 seconds.
All right. He'll be back in a second, folks. His cat is giving him trouble, as cats do. That's what they do.
Oh,
I'm back. All right.
Okay.
Literally just knocked everything off of the desk. I have to pick that up in a
That's
second.
what cats do.
Anyway.
They cause trouble.
Okay. So market definition proved. Now we have to prove that there was any research on harm, because you have to say, well, all right, maybe this is a market. How do we prove that there will be some harm? And they have done no analysis on that, the expert. And then you have to say, well, will the FTC win a case on the merits in the long run? It is not that they have to put some questions in the judge's mind. It is, if they go when they go in front of Judge Campbell, will they ultimately win? Not for win for using delay tactics. Will they act based on the laws on the books? And I didn't see a case that they presented there that was a winning case, because again, to back it up. And then you have to add the balance of equities, right? So if you block this deal based on cloud, you have to say, well, what would be the harm to the party involved? This means the parties would lose a $70 billion deal versus the harm to the public that you are trying to protect in the meantime. And when asked what the harms would be in cloud, the FTC literally said, we don't know, because the market is so
I had
dynamic.
mentioned that, yes.
So, and the judge also asked, well, it seems like you won already because you have these contracts here. And the FTC said, well, we don't think these contracts are relevant. We should look at them later. But Microsoft pointed out that discovery is over for your trial. So everything that you have, you would be looking at. You should have looked at already. And the judge pointed out, well, you could have looked at these if you didn't wait till the last minute to preliminary injunction, right? So you got contracts and you're saying they're not relevant. And the judge looked at a case with AT&T, and based on this case, they are relevant, right? And we're looking at all of that, any harms that would take place. And I know this is not the private case where you have to say immediate harm, but you have to say you will win merits, and to win on the merits, you have to prove some harm to the consumer. So the question is, if the market is so nascent, and if they hadn't done any quantitative analysis and their economists didn't run it through their model, what harm would take place before FTC is able to go through with their trial? Because they still can do that, right? And if the market is so nascent, how can you say that there will be harm that will take place on the consumer? And the last thing I'll say about this is, today there are no Activision games in the cloud. So if I'm saying the immediate harm to the consumer, what will it be if they don't have games in the cloud right now? Right? And so when you weigh all of that and you say, well, we think that you're going to have to win a case on the merits, where are the merits? Right? So I know that they've passed those hurdles. They've proven those tests. Now the judge could be considering something completely different based on, the final findings of facts and conclusions that were submitted by Microsoft and the FTC on. But based on what we've seen, I don't have any concerns about the cloud. None whatsoever. So again, not a prediction. I'm just saying, based on what we were privy to in the 5 days of hearings and the questions that were asked, if you're not concerned about console, I wouldn't be concerned about the cloud.
There you go. Now, real quick, we're waiting for Hargeet to jump in here. He's going to explain the whole why Microsoft could acquire.
I can answer
Sega.
that very quickly. Rule that people are referring to is the 2019 rule that says any company that is a foreign company acquiring more than a 10% interest in a Japanese company must go under an extended review, right? That's what everyone's referring to when they say an American company can't buy a Japanese company. Here is the problem with that. Just like Activision is going through extended reviews in these phase 2 investigations, it's no different than that. All they're saying is going to look harder into it if a company is acquiring more than a 10% stake. That's it. That when you hear people say you can't buy a Japanese company, is because they're referring to that 2019 rule of extra scrutiny on more than a 10% stake. That does not say it's illegal. That does not say you can't do anything. All that says is you're basically phase 2 investigation guaranteed.
Okay.
Right. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And I will guys do the Sega talk, because you guys know how I feel about it. But I will say that when there were rumors that Microsoft was looking at Bungie, and the head of Bungie said, no, that's not true.
Right.
Then it was true.
Yes.
So now he didn't say never. I don't
right now, because you have now. Yeah.
You have a responsibility as shareholders to at least consider all offers in terms of what is best for the company. So if someone brings you an offer, you have to bring it to your shareholders, right? That's just fiduciary responsibility. So and if you want me to believe that it is illegal to buy a Japanese company, why would the $2 trillion company put together dossiers on not only Sega, but also Square?
There you go.
And FromSoft.
Yeah.
Right. So that doesn't hold much weight. And it also flies in the face of the fact that Tango Gameworks acquired by ZeniMax.
Yes.
Yep. Right. So what now, the interesting thing about it is that Sega was in these documents, it says Sega would be all they'd remain multi-platform, right?
Yes.
And the way to think about that is, if you think of Xbox's presence in Japan, they have like 1.5% of the market. You would basically going into Japan and saying one of your largest publishers here were effectively, right? Because if we make it exclusive to our platform over here, that doesn't
Right.
almost any
that
base,
would definitely be an issue. Sure.
right? And I think during that extended review that you have, I think it would get shot down right there. So just I would keep that in mind. Now the question is, will it happen? When will it happen? I don't know. I just know in terms of their plans of making inroads into that region, and you're adding the Rovio situation to it, I think it makes the most sense. And I'm just
it absolutely does.
so, and I'll say this and get out of your hair. I am just heartened by the fact that, we have been calling for this for years and years and years. And Phil himself was the one who put in the request. So Phil's listening when we say these things, right? And did you see Sarah Bond, who happened to be on vacation in London, just taking a trip back?
Yes, she took a picture of the
Sega
headquarters.
I was going to mention
that.
Yeah. I was going to mention that.
and then one other thing is, as we know, as late as April of 2021, that Sega was on the watch, right? And we don't have saying that they were not still on the watch list. We saw the partnership that they entered into. And this is a very important thing in terms of that happening. If you can show you have a close business relationship and you're not just walking in to come and buy up things there, that partnership that they announced in November of 2021, thing that will show they are close partners, and this will be good for both companies. And so I don't think there's any coincidence that when Activision came into the picture, they just said, okay, we're going to do this partnership now, and let's finish this Activision thing and see where it goes. But I think the future is bright. I think Sega has never been doing better than it is right now. And so anything can happen. And if the Activision deal doesn't go our way, guess where they're going first?
Probably Sega.
There we go. All right, I will let you go. Let me get back to work.
Yeah, do you think, brother? Thanks for popping in and explaining it. Hargeet, what's going on? But listen, crazy. Before we bring you in on the Sega talk, we got to talk to Hargeet, who took the time to be here. Hargeet, obviously, we were talking about the potential concerns for cloud SLC being a factor for the Judge Corley. You're laughing because you're like me. Now I'm very convinced that in fact is not going to be the case. I think that we've all said, and I will get you. I don't want to put words in your mouth. We'll get your hot take on it. I think that Microsoft has evidence. I think they have more than just theory. I think they also have law, and they have history on their side. No vertical merger in the last 50 years has been blocked. And I think that the FTC's closing arguments, specifically with cloud, saying we don't know, and how they Jim Ryan doomed their own console SLC. I don't think that's going to go through. But Florian has been putting out a flurry of theories regarding why he thinks that it is almost an impossible uphill climb for the FTC to prove what they need for the judge to say no. Where do you fall? Because a lot of us on his panel think that Friday we're gonna learn her decision, even though it's gonna stay closed.
Yeah, it's about realistic. Yeah. The seal is because she can't release all the documents until all parties have said redact this, redact this, redact this, redact this, right? And then you can put out whatever you want to put out, right? Because they have everything unredacted, right? So they can get all the data. So that's why it's sealed. But they will know. The parties will know this is the decision. So they might, hopefully they'll tell us. I don't know if they do or don't, right? But I think it will come out probably sometime this week. I don't know if it'll be middle or later in the week, but they'll get the answer. As far as I don't want to get my hopes up because we've had so many stupid setbacks, right? But if it was based on case law, I don't see it. And the fact that the judge was pushing back on almost everything the FTC said. At closing, you're like, dude, it's just she's not convinced. I'm sorry, she's not convinced, right? You're just seeing the like, well, why did you think about this? Why did you think about that? Why isn't this okay? Well, look, ultimately, it comes down to what harm could Microsoft do by say doing the worst, which is taking the games and making them all exclusive, which, by the way, is totally valid. You're paying $70 billion. You could do that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that, and there's nothing really wrong. The rest of the world has not given a damn. They said, yep, do it. It doesn't matter. Go ahead. Right? And there's a reason, because it's totally... Look, if Joe Rogan goes from YouTube to Spotify, does that kill YouTube? No,
it does not.
It does not. It doesn't matter, right? And Spotify was the much smaller competitor, and they went and spent a whole ton of money to go get that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did they do that? Because they want market share. Okay, that's totally valid. They made it exclusive to Spotify. Okay, that's okay. If somebody buys the Beatles catalog, does that make them the impossible, competitor in the market that nobody can compete with? Like, it's entirely insane. The entire argument is entirely insane. They could do whatever they want with Call of Duty. Shut it down. It will not kill the market. There's 5 million games in the market. Roblox was worth over $100 billion one game. That's more than ABK. Like, the whole idea is stupid. But anyway, they wanted to grasp at straws to find a reason to tell Microsoft you can't buy things. That's what the whole point of this was, right? Had no merit in any reality, right? Cloud gaming is an access method. It's not a market. And who said that? Google Stadia's representative in the court.
They did. Yep.
It's an access method. Our competitors are PlayStation, Xbox, Steam. Like, come on. They killed their argument. That whole argument's dead. The whole cloud thing is dead. I just don't see how that's even relevant. The entirety of that, the CMA can do speculative future. You have to have proof that it's going to kill the market today. They have none. The market doesn't even exist, and the biggest competitor, Nvidia, says we're for it. So, what is your answer? And she brought that up many times. Why is Nvidia not good enough? Right? Why is that not good enough? They came here and told me that it was good enough. Why are you saying it's not good enough? Right? Oh, there's this potential concern about, they have to get Windows license. Who cares? They're not complaining about it. So what do you want me to tell you? They worked out a deal. They're happy.
Right.
So what?
So I love how they tried to add the sweeteners. Oh, but they're going to get the Microsoft thing, but sweeteners, and but they wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for the sweeteners. It's like, are we talking coffee and tea, or we're talking like deals? It's dumb. It's just dumb.
That's business, dude. And if it was a more open thing, Microsoft might try to give them stuff and get stuff, right? That's the way. That's business, right? Let the open market work. That's capitalism. So I don't like if things were to go the right way. There's no case. The FTC never had a case. So this should be like no preliminary injunction. But as Hogan said, you can't account for crazy. I don't know if it just like everything leans the correct direction right now, but I don't know. So that's kind of where my head's at. I really hope, like King's been saying, hold the line, right?
Yes.
That this goes the right way. But that's kind of where I'm leaning. It seems like the PI will not be granted, but I could be surprised, just like the CMA coming out and saying, "Oh, because of cloud, we're going to deny you this acquisition." Like, okay. I don't know.
It's listen. It is what it is. I'm like I said, for you, like you, I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not saying, "Oh yeah, guaranteed it's done." But I think we can walk away saying with full authority that the judge has proven that she's not afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
And I think I would argue that she has done her due diligence to push back where she needed to push back. And again, I don't think that the FTC's lawyers did a good enough job to convince her that, on her words, harm to consumers,
not Sony, which is totally valid. Microsoft's 100% allowed to harm Sony. They're the main competitor that has a higher market share than them. That's the point of competition. They're supposed to do that. So she's not going to block things based on that, right? That just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, and look, she's been very well versed in this because of the gamers lawsuit, right? She knows the material. This is really FTC. Make your case on the items that you think the gamers could not tell me, right? And tell me why this thing is horrible for the industry, right? Then we can figure out what to do with it. They just didn't make a case. That's just the way it is.
No, they didn't. So I just out of curiosity, because we're gonna get your take on the gamers lawsuit. It ran almost parallel to each other with what they what the gamers lawsuit was using that Sony provided, and she didn't. I know that it's different with the usage of the gamers lawsuit versus a $69 billion deal. I understand it's fundamentally different in every aspect possible. I totally get that. But it's still similar in nature, where she didn't approve the injunction on the first one. Hard to believe that she would authorize the injunction on the second one, though.
Yeah, and there's also other things to think about, right? As was mentioned, the precedent. That court has never done this.
Right.
Ever done this for a vertical merger, right? And in the U.S., it's been 50 years since anybody even attempted it. You'd have to have something crazy where a vertical merger would have such an impact on the market, right? This is usually only for horizontals, like Nintendo buys.
We actually said that. Someone was like, I said
Sony
this would
or
happen
Sony
if
buys
Nintendo, if Xbox tried to buy Nintendo.
Right. Now you're talking, okay? Like if that happens, yes, okay, that's something you definitely want to evaluate, and it's fair. But in this case, it's just, again, like they look at the numbers as being very big, but they don't understand like the numbers are very big in a market that's way bigger than anything else, right? This is a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and that's just not something they can wrap their head around, because they're thinking movies, and movies are pathetic in comparison to what gaming is. Gaming is so large. You literally can take the entirety of all the rest of entertainment, combine it. It's not as big as gaming. That's how big this industry is, right? So when they see $70 billion to get 3 publishers, they're thinking that's a massive amount. It's like, no, one game, Roblox, was worth $120 billion not a year ago. Yes. One game was worth $120 billion. Twice the value of what Microsoft is spending to buy these 3 publishers. It's a large industry. They just don't get that, right? And that's so they're thinking, oh my God, they're going to own the entire thing. It's like, no, they're really, really not. It's not even close. So like, hopefully this, educates them on that. I don't think it does. This is all activism. Like if this was a different FTC makeup, I don't think it goes past phase 1, because there's nothing here, right? There's, oh my God, it's so big. But then you realize, yeah, but the market's massive. So whatever. Right. And what's Microsoft's take? And this gets somewhat political, but if you had Trump as president, his thing would be US first, right? So America first, right? It's an American company trying to compete with Japan and China. And his thing would be, I'm going to make this deal happen because I want to have my companies become number 1, right? So, and now we have the opposite. It's like, nope, we want American big tech to fail, right? That's what we have now. It's like, well, okay. That's what we have with activism. That's kind of annoying. Both sides, right? You can't blindly accept everything either, right? It is good to have scrutiny. I think it's very good to have the FTC look at things like this and say, okay, we did the measurements, we did everything like the EU did.
Right.
We did it right. All right, we got you. Here are our little concerns. Fix that. We're good to go, right? Fair enough. That is not what we are. We're doing things on opposite extremes, which is stupid. But that's kind of the way things are, right? So hopefully this is not what happens in the future, but I can't see that changing until the leadership in the FTC changes, unfortunately. And I kind of like her being activist in some cases, but this just ain't it. You can't just keep, like, that case was humiliatingly bad. And I just don't see this being the right direction for us as the leaders of the free world to put that up. That just wasn't good. That's not the way it should be.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Okay, so I lost my way. Crazy Lou, did you get a chance to talk about Sega?
I was going to hop into it, but I was going to say something to Hargreaves though.
Yeah,
about this merger thing. And here's the thing though, that they're trying to make cloud like it's a serious competitive thing. But here's the thing though, Hargreaves, and this is something that as I see it, I mean, this is my personal view. I see cloud as an option for me. Right. Yeah. For me is an option. Why? Because I don't know if you guys have played. I've used cloud. Cloud sometimes lags, right?
100%. You can't play Call of Duty on cloud. I'm sorry.
It lags.
Good luck.
It lags. So I rather play on my console, play on my PC, with my game installed. And you mentioned this before. I remember you talking about this. How cell phones have now the power, to play all these games. You can install them in there, just play directly on your cell phone. I rather play it like that, of course. Yep. But I will also like cloud just in case. I can use cloud anywhere I can, anywhere or everywhere. It's a perfectly fine thing, but it's an option. And they're trying to make this like this is a main thing. It's gonna tear things apart. No, this is basically just an option you're trying to add for us gamers to have, a way to play games. That's all.
Yeah. It is. It is an interesting one, right? You all know my opinion. I think cloud is a distraction. I don't like. It's a lot of money, as we found out from the trial. They just to run it, forget the actual building of it, making the boxes, setting up the servers. Just the running it is costing them more than they make, right?
Yes.
And to me, that just like why? I would rather you take that money and go buy IO Interactive, go buy Sega. I don't want you to like what? Yes, it's a convenience, but it's not a convenience to me worth sacrificing buying the next publisher. I would rather just do that. Go buy the next game. Go get like they did a great job with third-party stuff in the last showcase. I want more of that. I want the third parties. That's what I'm looking for. Right, cloud to me, it's a distraction. You have to put it like I don't even think is it even available to you? Crazy?
No, he said no, it's not.
No, it's not available to me. And when can I use it? I have to use a VPN, and man, it lags so horrible.
Exactly, and so you would have to have servers in your area, right? And so that's a very expensive thing to do. As you notice that most of them are putting it in like San Francisco, in New York. It's there because there's money. Right, they have the ability to put it in data centers. Data centers require a level of wealth, right? Now, I've said this before. You have to have a level of wealth to justify having a cloud data center, and that's where they're putting these things. And okay, those people can afford to buy a $200 console. I'm sorry, they just can't. Like, there's just no point. If you're in New York, you can buy a Series S. You can buy a Switch. I'm sorry, I just don't see where this is going. Like, yes, it's a convenience, but you will not forego your console. You will not forego your PC. Find me that customer. Find me that customer in San Francisco that says, I'm going to throw away my PC, I'm going to throw away my console, and I'm going to use cloud. And they have it right there.
It's just not going to happen.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They're going to buy a console. In fact, I'd be surprised they don't have a PS5 and a Series X. I like it is what it is. If they don't have a $2,000 PC on top of that, right? It just doesn't make sense to me, right? It would have to go to down markets, but then you're talking, I don't know, billions in cost in putting server infrastructure everywhere where they aren't even having cloud data centers, right? You can do it, but you're expanding your cost because that infrastructure that creates the cloud data center isn't there. You're going to find local data centers and manage it yourself, which means people, it means more expensive space. And then you're creating all this bespoke hardware that could be on somebody's like living room. You're taking that Series X away and putting it in a cloud data center or a new data center. I just don't see it. To me, that's just a waste of money. They see some future with it. NVIDIA is very gung-ho about it. Cool. They're not making money. Microsoft's not making money. And they're the two biggest. Like, I don't know. Like, so if something is supposed to happen, I think it would have happened by now.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Yeah.
The Rogue Ally just came out at $700. It is like 90% the power of PS5 in your palm. That's in your hand, right? And that's 1 year after the Steam Deck. Just look at the numbers. The Steam Deck came out in Feb 2022 at 1.6 T-flops, and this is 8.6 T-flops 1 year later. Just think of the delta we're looking at, how ridiculously more powerful it is in 1 year. What's that going to be 5 years from now? I just don't see it. Like, your phones are already close to a Series S. What's that going to be 5 years from now? Right? And okay, your average phone isn't, but the crap phone of today was what the highest end was 5 years ago.
Yes.
Right. And so that's what's going to happen. So the current iPhone, the current Samsung, that's going to be the general phone 5 years from now. You will have that level of power. You can play. Bobby Kotick on the stand said these phones are so powerful. A large chunk of our Call of Duty players are playing direct on phone today. That's what they're doing, right? They're not. That's why they're not investing in the cloud. Like, I just see the power in the phone. I see the power in these portable devices. He even admitted that not being on Switch was a failure. They should have done that, right? So, and there's no reason they can't do it. Doom is on there. Doom Eternal's on there on Switch. It's the same engine. They can absolutely get caught on there. Overwatch 2 is on the Switch.
Yeah.
They 100% could get Call of Duty on there. They just haven't done it. And so to me, I just don't see the value of the cloud when you can buy a few $100 device and have native performance. And that's especially when it comes to shooters. I just don't see that being a thing. Cloud is just too latency intensive. It's just going to kill your gameplay. Competitive game, I just forget it. I can see it for adventure games, maybe. But man, I can just Call of Duty, forget it. I just don't see anybody doing it. It's just too horrendous.
It is. Listen, Hargeet, brother, thank you so much for dropping it like it's hot, as you always do on not only your own shows, but of course when you pop in for shows like this, and you also obviously every Wednesday on Primetime Gaming. Listen, we're half an hour past when we're supposed to go. Unfortunately, I don't want to hold anybody up. I do want to get to outros. Again, I apologize. The Sega talk kind of got cut short. I think it's safe to say that all of us want Sega. We want Sega for a lot of reasons. For me, it's personal because the Dreamcast is still my favorite console of all time, and it is what it is. And obviously, with them buying Rovio, it just makes too much sense for Microsoft not to invest in Sega. It just makes too much sense. But let's get to the outros. But before I get to the outros, folks, my God, there's been so many super chats that dropped in. Let me just get to those and we'll get everyone out of here. Simon Brandy drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, when the judge brought up the PC, I was frustrated. Microsoft did not mention the Steam Deck or ROG Ally. I hope that the deal closes during a Boom Live event. Yeah, that would be freaking awesome. Who knows? Maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday morning. We open up breakfast at Boom, and it is boom, victory live! Yay! Everyone gets crazy, and we start throwing confetti. Who knows when this is going to happen? Again, Hogue Law, genius of a man. He does say something that everyone has used to death. He should get a dollar for every time we say it. You can't account for crazy, and that is very true. But I think that just based on the way the judge has conducted herself during the gamers lawsuit and through this entire trial or hearing, whatever you want to call it, she seemed unconvinced by the FTC's nonsense. Really, a lot of their arguments were just utter nonsense. So we will see. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says ABK deal was almost same percentage market cap as SIE Bungie deal, around 3.3%. So this deal is bigger than Sony versus Microsoft. It affects businesses worldwide. That's a fantastic point. Mohammed Sherez drops a very generous $2 super chat and says Pearl Abyss, Dev Key, and Crimson Desert. I'm not sure. I mean, those are definitely multiplayer games that are available everywhere. But Mohammed, brother, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for the generosity. Roar Rebel drops a $5 super chat and says, did you guys think the judge's son might have helped her understand the gaming business? I mean, if she was confused with something, I'm sure she could ask her son as a person, not as an actual someone that you're going to use, to make a decision. I don't know. That's an interesting theory. I think she could have asked anybody, but if she was going to ask someone, she would trust her son. Sure. Buck.
I mean, I think they have staff for that, right? I mean, she
right.
has
Yeah,
staff
that's
to do
what I
all
think.
that analysis, and she's had the gamer lawsuit for a while now. I doubt it. I really doubt it. I don't think she'd want the conflict of interest.
I agree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. And that's what we don't want, a conflict of interest. And I don't think we're going to get that. Honestly, I think she's done a really dynamite job of being fair, and that's just my opinion. Buck drops a very generous $5 super chat and says New Zealand is only about 5 million people in total. They take out Nintendo, then PlayStation outsells Xbox 4-1. Corley needs to get this right for the United States. I ultimately think she will. I just think that this deal is too big to go and base it on a maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just my take. The FTC's whole theory of harm is on a maybe. It's not good. It's just not good. It's more taxpayer dollars wasted. Raiden Blade drops a £5 super chat and says Asobo already an Xbox studio. IO will be an Xbox. Crystal D and EDO Eidos Montreal are also coming to Xbox Studio family. More studios incoming from Asia and Africa. Yes, I mean, I think that the Eidos and Crystal D, they're already working on Fable and Perfect Dark. I can see them, Microsoft, making an offer to Embracer, who's hurting for money. It makes too much sense. Game Shark drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Xbox should win without any doubt. But we're in crazy times. The Supreme Court is ruling on a case that doesn't exist right now. Appreciate you guys, by the way. Well, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the generosity and thank you for being here. Raiden Blade drops an additional £5 super chat. Actually drops 3 more super chats, 1 of 5 and 2 of $2. The first one, he says, I want to point out that Microsoft wants their software everywhere on everything. The ABK has brought future action of Microsoft sooner than planned. Microsoft is all services. Yeah, absolutely. He drops 2 more $2 super chats or £2 super chats and says, Microsoft is a service-based company, 10-year contracts to all. I absolutely agree. Judge, why is Sony not putting the games in PlayStation Plus? And that was phenomenally asked by her. And Sour Blow 18 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, deal denied without would be atrocious, like a $75 billion hammer. I mean, it would be egregious at best.
That's to me directly, because I bought a hammer for last Wednesday's showcase, which cost 75 pesos. So he's making fun of me for.
I missed the inside joke. $75 for a hammer. That's expensive. Holy cow! Better be a good hammer and a very big one. Listen, really. Again, we will continue the Sega talk at some point. I apologize we didn't get to you. Obviously, it's just one of those shows that it's so much happening. We're trying to get opinions from everybody. Appreciate everyone being here and taking the time. Again, this is a 2-hour show. We're supposed to be only 90 minutes, but here we are. Crazy Lou Gaming, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the Xbox International podcast and also an Espanol version with other guys from your crew. Talk about it.
Oh man, Mr. Boomstick, like always, so much fun hanging out with you guys here doing this. Xbox Lunch Break Special, hanging out with you guys each and every single week. And you can find me at Twitter at Crazy Louis Gaming, where I say good morning and all do all sorts of stuff, even though right now Twitter has been limited. Damn you, Elon. I love you though, but damn you either way. Also, you can find me on Tuesdays at Playing with Crazy, playing scary games. That's what I do on the Xbox International Podcast YouTube channel. So find me over there playing some scary games so you guys can join me, have some fun, a little bit of chat. And Wednesdays, Xbox International Podcast here on YouTube, 7 p.m. ET with Sour Blow, Big Plume, and Silent Cypher going on. What's going on in the gaming world. And Fridays, Xbox International Podcast en Español over there, the Xbox International Podcast en Español, where I sometimes may join 7 p.m. ET with Internal Jedi and ASCAP Gaming and Sour Blow sometimes, and sometimes I would join. That's where you can find me. And again, thank you so much, Mr. Boomstick. And thanks to everyone for coming in, and Hargreave for joining us for a little bit. Thank you, brother.
Awesome. Fuzzy Belvedere, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the best place for everything and anything racing on your YouTube channel, where they can subscribe to get you past 1K, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Oh, just want to thank you for having me on here, and shout out to Everborn and Hargeet for joining us. Man, always love hearing your guys' takes on things, and just so much fun with all these games coming and the news on the verge of exploding coming to the end of this week. Can't wait for a lot of this to get wrapped up, and hopefully in Xbox's favor. But for those that want to hear all of my endless rants or ramblings on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on YouTube, Fuzzy Belvedere, all one word. You can also find me later on tonight on FSP on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right back here for Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. right here on Double Barrel Gaming. Look forward to seeing you there.
Thanks, brother. And Web Dave, sell your brand, brother. You had a great show last night. Obviously, a bunch of amazing guests. Talk about it, sell it, and where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel? More importantly, listen to the latest and greatest interviews, even if they're with controversial folks. You still figure out a way to make it a fun listening podcast. Talk about it.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Well, just so everybody knows, I have a new one that dropped, so you can listen to that one and forget about the old one. It's Jesse Norris from Xbox Era, and it's a really good one, and it's already got almost 100 views already, and it just dropped this
Nice.
morning. So check it out. It's a really good interview. He's a great, very fascinating
Jesse's a good
guy.
dude. Jesse's
and
a really good
smart,
dude. Yeah.
very smart. Yes, and also a big thank you so much for Hargeet and for everyone for answering the call. Thank you guys. I know you guys are busy working hard, but it's much appreciated because you guys are amazing members of the community, as well
Indeed.
as Fuzzy Belvedere, Crazy Lou Gaming, and of course the one and only Mr. Boomstick. Love you guys. Thanks.
Love you as well,
Happy
brother.
4th,
And
guys.
and Hargeet, obviously, again, brother, thank you so much for popping in,
Yeah.
giving us your hot knowledge, showing off that beautiful pearly whites that you always do and you smile. Talk about let's talk about the zealots of gaming. Get people know because we know that you're obviously affiliated with Gaz and
Game On.
Asa, and we know that you do Game On Daily, but you got a new show that I think more people need to tune into. You're working with Zolker 87. Obviously, if you don't know who Zolker 87 is, where the hell have you been? He's from, obviously, RDX with Dealer and that crew, which, of course, you are a part of. Talk about the Zealots of Gaming, sir.
Yeah. So it's brand new. I think we're up to like episode 5 or 6, something like that.
If time flies, brother.
I know, right? And it's, we have a lot of fun. It's me, So Shady, and Zocker. We wanted to just more, do a more conversational thing where we just go back and forth and just showcase our zealousness of gaming. So we came up with Zealots of Gaming. It's been fun, and it seems to be resonating. Seems to be getting quite a bit of people coming in every week. So it's pretty cool. Thanks for all those who do join up. But yeah, just check it out. It's Thursday nights at 8 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Zocker 87's channel. So hope to see you guys there. Oh, well, and happy 4th of July to everybody in the U.S. Yes. Tomorrow is our Independence Day.
Yes,
for all of
indeed.
those celebrating that in the U.S. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you, sir. And speaking of 4th of July, folks, understand that Mrs. Boom and I, we're taking the day off. We're gonna do nothing but play Animal Crossing, sleep late, have a nice breakfast, chill, watch movies, watch our Korean dramas that we love and we watch every day. We're taking the day off. I'm gonna make an official announcement on Twitter so everyone doesn't show up and be like, hey, where's the Xbox Factor podcast? We will reconvene the following Tuesday as we normally do, but Mrs. Boom and I are going to take the day off and kind of just unplug for a day. You might not see me on Twitter because, well, outside of wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving, oh my God, a happy 4th of July, we're just going to chill. We're going to unplug for a day. We both need it, and we're just going to play Animal Crossing and just hang out. Maybe we even get started on Diablo because I want to start it already, but Mrs. Boom is dragging her heels, so we got to get her to start it. She's been getting killed at work, so she's just too exhausted. We will get there eventually, I promise you. Listen, play Halo Infinite. I just hit this is old footage. I hit level 100 this morning on Battle Pass 4. I'm finishing up Battle Pass 3, and when I'm done with that, by the end of the day, I will have gotten and beaten all the Battle Passes. It's so freaking good, man. Oh my God. Anyway, a big thank you to all the super chats. There's been so many of them, and really, honestly, we really appreciate the generosity. And of course, I want to close out the show, folks, with something that is important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. Yes, Crazy Lou.
Oh no, I'm just saying goodbye. That's all.
Oh, okay. So, folks, listen. Obviously, I say this at the end of every show. It maybe means nothing to you. It does mean a tremendous amount to me, only because this is what I base me being an amazing and positive human being, thanks to my pop, who obviously was wise beyond his years. And these are very simple terms, folks. He used to say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.